For more than 70 years, the Ford F-Series has represented the epitome of what it means to own and operate a pickup truck in the US of A. In 1903, Henry Ford built his first truck. While some might argue that it was the vehicle that started the company's pedigree of pickups that would eventually lead the market, that's not necessarily the case. A few years later, Ford created the Model A with a service truck body and a Model TT with a longer chassis and flatbed. Then came the Model T Runabout, supplied with a pickup body, which the Ford Motor Company officially recognizes as its first mass-produced truck, debuted in early 1925. From 1948 to 1952, Ford F1 first generation. Tomoko would go on to design and construct a slew of pickup truck models with great success from that point on. You can look back and see that prior to the release of the F-Series, trucks were merely a means to haul things around. It wasn't until the F-Series debuted in 1948 that Ford really began to focus on truck models and functions, leading to a lineage of pickups that would dominate the truck market. In 1948, America was booming. The war was over, and the combined war effort put millions of Americans to work, boosting production across many industries. With that boom came innovation in truck design and implementation. What if pickup trucks, previously made for commercial fleets and farmers, could be made accessible to regular average Americans with a need for a utility vehicle with daily driver comforts? Thus, the F-Series was born. Prior to the F1, no real attention was given to safety, handling, styling, driving comfort, fuel economy, and other necessities as a family vehicle. Once the F1 debuted, the real turning point in Ford's truck history came to fruition. At that time, Ford was the first manufacturer to see trucks a bit differently, playing around with many designs and ideas that would eventually change the way people looked at and used the pickup truck. We are going to take a look at the first 6 generations of the F-Series, 1948 to 1979. Kicking it off is the 194852 Ford F1. After World War II, it took a bit of time before the passenger cars and trucks were put back on the production line and made available to the public again. By the time Ford was able to get back into truck production, it was making the same truck from 42 to 47. The company was determined, however, to make a complete redesign that would not only be marketed to the farmers and fleet companies, but to a much wider audience. So in November 1947, the first F-Series pickup rolled off the assembly line in Highland Park, Michigan. Then on Jan 16, 1948, Ford announced its newly designed Ford F1 pickup truck. The new F1 was built on a 114-inch wheelbase. Compared to the previous model, the new F1's cab was 7 inches wider and provided more headroom. The front fenders were also wider, taller, and designed to look like a single piece that wrapped around the front. The rear fenders were no longer teardrop-shaped. Instead, they were more rounded and continued the side body lines of the truck from the front all the way to the rear. Previous models had a vertical grille, but the new F1 was distinctly different, with a wider 5-bar horizontal grille, with the turn signals integrated into the top grille bar. The familiar long, pointed hood connected the F1 to the lineage of trucks up to this point, but it now incorporated bold Ford lettering at the nose, with 2 openings above it. The sides of the hood still had a long vent, but now featured 2 chromed bars and the Ford logo in block lettering. The doors on the 48 were moved forward 3 inches, making it easier to get in and out of the cab. Ford also added vent windows to the F1, which was part of the truck's 3-way ventilation system that consisted of the 2 vent windows and an added cowl vent. All the improvements Ford made to the new cab were based on careful design and development. The company called it the $1 million cab, which reflected the amount that Ford had spent on research and tooling. The years 194850 saw very few body changes. After 3 years of production, the F1 needed a facelift, and it got it in 1951. The most noticeable changes came at the front of the truck, which now had a wide, single-bar front grille. The big grille bar stretched across the entire face of the truck, and it had 3 large, evenly spaced supports. Protruding headlights were mounted on each end of the grille, with the turn signals mounted underneath. Over the 1952 model year, with truck sales declining, Ford began working on redesigning its F1 12-ton pickup, but still had to get through the 1952 model year. The body of the 1952 F1 remained virtually the same, except for a few trim changes. The nose vent trim around the front of the hood was now painted. The Ford lettering moved to the panel above the grille and was now chrome block letters. The vent trim spear on the sides of the hood now incorporated the F1 designation in a circle at the front, and a small insignia at the center of the hood nose molding indicated that the truck was equipped with the 6-cylinder, or V8. 1953 to 1956, Ford F-100 second generation. The second generation of Ford's F-Series light-duty trucks started with Ford's 50th anniversary and ended with one of the most popular trucks that collectors and Ford truck enthusiasts think of when you mention the word F-100. The 50s were perhaps the most nostalgic time for the F-100 pickup, as this type of styling would never be used or seen again but had definitely made an everlasting impression. One of the most notable upgrades to the 53 F-Series truck was the change to the F-100 designation. It's not official as to why the truck's nomenclature was changed from F-1 to F-100, but the popular belief is that it was influenced by the U.S. Air Force's first supersonic fighter jet, the F-100 Super Sabre. The Korean War had just ended, and Americans were focused on getting back into working toward the prosperity they had after World War II. So, naming a new, sleek, and completely redesigned truck after the fighter jet seems quite plausible. Just like the innovative, streamlined jet planes, Ford made the 53 sleeker and more aerodynamic than previous models. It now featured a longer hood with more curves, and the front portion blended in and became a part of the fenders. Designers did away with the large single-bar grille and added a double-bar grille that also incorporated an engine designation logo in the center. Ford did away with the flat windshield and added a larger, curved windshield to the truck. The new glass had more than 400 square inches of area. Because the new windshield was raked back at the top, it slightly changed the roofline of the truck. The use of a larger rear window helped change the truck's overall appearance. With a 2-inch lower windowsill, the 53 had a more open cab design with a 55% increase in total glass area. The big news for the F-100 in 1954 was the introduction of the Y-block V8 engine that produced 130 HP. Not much else changed in the truck's overall exterior design from the previous year. A new grille was slanted forward slightly and had 3 air openings underneath the center logo. All V8-equipped trucks had the same emblem, while the deluxe cab models featured 3 chevrons on each side. The Mid-DS brought in a whole new era for the automobile as part of the American lifestyle. Vehicle designs of the time resulted in more classics that are worth 100 times their original value today. While the cars got all the design attention, trucks, such as the F-100, were beginning to make some style changes of their own. But unfortunately, it didn't really begin until after the release of the 55 models. Ford only made a few minor changes to the 55 F-100. The most noticeable was the new V-shaped grille, which consisted of the vertical bars with a dropped V in the upper bar. The engine designation emblems remained the same with the V8s and the 4-point star. But because the emblems were located above the dropped V grille, they were a more dominant design feature, making it appear as if they were floating in front of the truck. Along with the new grille, Ford also changed the side emblem with a chrome circle that has the F-100 lettering inside. Speak with any Ford F-100 truck owner or enthusiast, and the topic of the 56 big window will almost always enter the conversation. Ford's design change of adding a large, full-wrap windshield with vertical door pillars made a huge impact on the truck's popularity. In fact, big window pickups are still admired and sought after today as the more desirable and collectible models. But the big window nickname wasn't given to all the F-100s. Some models featured an optional larger rear window that was almost the same size as the front windshield. The style of the cab was definitely a big change, which was further accented with the roof's new styling, now featuring a visor above the front windshield. The headlamps also had a slight visor over them, but the rest of the truck's body didn't have too many other changes from the 55 models. The front grille was also the same for the V8s, but the 6 cylinders no longer had the star or any designation on the front. The side emblem was changed to have the F-100 in a red circle over a chromed spear with the Ford lettering in red.